I'm your boss now, Pops. Brett shouted, throwing his arms wide like he was the second coming of Steve Jobs. If Steve had spent more time on TikTok doing shirtless push-ups and less time inventing anything of actual value. I watched the old man, the real CEO, the one who built Caswell Logistics with grit and hangovers, just smile, sip his bourbon, and step aside like he was passing down a goddamn crown in a royal fantasy novel. Except this wasn't Camelot. It was a warehouse company in Ohio, and we were all about to get royally screwed. I've been here 18 years, long enough to survive 5 acquisitions, a CFO who embezzled himself into federal prison, and one fire that started because someone thought it was smart to microwave a tuna melt with the foil still on. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for Brett. Picture if a ring light had a trust fund. That's the new boss. Neon sneakers, gold chain with a QR code to his vision board, and a Slack handle that literally said it Boss Daddy. The announcement meeting started with Brett pumping EDM over the intercom and ended with him declaring that our next leadership offsite would be at Burning Man. I didn't even have time to fake a stroke before he turned to me in front of everyone and said, "Linda, you're like our company's mom, and we love that energy. Let's dial down the boomer static, okay?" The room went dead silent except for someone's nervous throat clearing and the faint squeal of my soul exiting my body through my clenched jaw. Oh, and right before that little stunt, he'd hinted at revisiting quarterly bonuses because he read in a subreddit that dopamine cycles are better maintained with surprise incentives. Translation? That money we'd earned? Gone. Maybe replaced with a glow stick rave and a bottle of kombucha. Anyway, hi. If you're new here, maybe hit that subscribe button. Only takes a second, and apparently 97% of y'all forget to click it, even though I'm out here fighting corporate toddlers in Balenciagas just to bring you these stories. Let's hit 10,000 together so I can keep dragging these people in 4K. Back to Brett. He spent the rest of the meeting handing out business cards that just said Chief Vibes Officer and making us download a company app called Clout Clock, which synced our productivity to his personal algorithm. I wish I was kidding. HR looked like they wanted to hurl themselves into a recycling bin. I smiled, nodded, and offered to help him with onboarding materials. Inside, I was already mapping out where his idiocy would cave in the fastest. You don't last 18 years in a place like this without knowing exactly where the structural cracks are, and which ones you can exploit when the whole building starts to wobble. Later that afternoon, I caught Brett live streaming a CEO mind dump from his standing desk. He was rambling about NFTs, employee soul audits, and how Caswell needed to stop being a logistics company and start being a content movement. I leaned in, coffee in hand, and said, "Brett, if you ever need help translating reality into HR policy, I'm your girl." He winked and said, "Appreciate you, Linda. Don't retire on me too soon, though your trauma response to change is iconic." I walked away with a smile so fake it should have come with a warranty. But inside, I was already thinking about the warehouse guys, about my cousin at the NLRB, about what Brett had just awakened. Not rage, not sadness. Strategy. You want to play games with people's paychecks and call yourself Boss Daddy? Fine, let the games begin. The first red flag flapped into my inbox with the subject line, "Sparkles welcome to Mindfulness Hour Sparkles." No body text. Just an attachment, PDF flyer of a smiling mushroom doing yoga, and a note that said attendance mandatory. Time not billable. Namaste. I stared at it so long I forgot how to blink. Unpaid forced meditation. A logistics company that once made me clock out to pee? That was just day 1 of the new regime. By the end of week 1, we were getting our paychecks in crypto, specifically Brett Coin, a blockchain disaster he coded with his college roommate as a vibe experiment. Direct deposit? Gone. HR? Silent. If you had questions, you were told to submit a support meme to the Vibe channel. What the hell is a support meme? Apparently. GIF of SpongeBob crying over paperwork is now an acceptable HR ticket. Then came the fun employment roulette. I wish I was joking. Every Friday, Brett spun a glittery wheel during the all-hands Zoom. On it, things like get a raise, team pizza, random audit, and the kicker, 1 month sabbatical, unpaid, surprise. And when Janice from invoicing landed on it, Brett clapped and said, "Congrats, Janice. Go find yourself." Sobbed off camera while the rest of us fake laughed like we weren't 2 steps from lighting the building on fire with lavender oil and a prayer. And guess what I got in the reorg? A handler, not a mentor, not a peer, a handler. Her name was Katie, spelled with 2 E's and a heart emoji in her Slack name. She introduced herself via voice memo saying, "Hey, Linda. I'm here to help you evolve. Let's start by adding some sparkles pizzazz sparkles to your email signature. Maybe a sparkle emoji or like a sloth gif?" I told her I'd consider it right after I replaced my spine with a pool noodle. She didn't get the joke. She just sent me a Canva link titled Linda's Signature Glow Up. That night I stayed late, not to meditate, not to vibe. I opened my old notebook. The red one I used during the 2014 reorg when they tried to outsource payroll to a company in Estonia that turned out to be one guy with a flip phone. I made 3 calls. First, to Ron in receiving, who's worked the docks longer than Brett's been alive and knows every guy on night shift who's one cold brew away from mutiny. Second, to Brenda in accounting, who still runs reports manually because she doesn't trust the cloud. Third, my cousin Tara. She works for the NLRB and once called me the only boomer she trusts with a clipboard. They all picked up on the first ring. I wasn't angry. Anger's loud, sloppy. Brett had loud covered. I was still controlled. The kind of rage that writes in ink and files receipts alphabetically. The kind that watches, waits, calculates. In meetings, I took notes while Brett pitched an idea for a corporate gratitude NFT marketplace and said we should start calling employees Soul Capital. I smiled. I nodded. I underlined the phrase Soul Capital and put 3 stars next to it. By the end of the week, 4 more employees had quit, 2 had panic attacks in the stairwell, and 1 guy just started wearing noise-canceling headphones labeled Do Not Brett. He sent me a Slack that said you're doing so great adapting. Sun Sparkles, I responded with a thumbs up, then printed every single one of her messages and filed them in a folder titled Compliance, Weaponized Idiocy. Brett thought he was building a cult. I was building a case. It started with a group chat named Forklift Freedom. 5 warehouse leads, 3 X-Field techs, 1 janitor named Mel who'd been here since Clinton was president, and me. The name wasn't subtle. Neither was the rage brewing under every fluorescent light on the loading docks. Brett had just finished live streaming his latest CEO challenge. This time, he tried lifting a pallet jack with raw hustle and wound up tearing something in his entrepreneurial core. He limped off camera yelling we're disrupting OSHA, and HR didn't even blink. That was the tipping point. Marcus, one of the warehouse managers, messaged me later that night. Linda, if he calls himself a disruptor one more time, I'm going to disrupt his face with a box of expired printer toner. I replied, noted hypothetically. The field guys were already calling Brett Lord of the Swing Shift. Apparently he'd issued an edict requiring all delivery staff to say Namaste after every client drop-off. When one refused, Brett slacked the entire fleet a motivational meme that said, "Resistance is a mindset cancer." He genuinely thought it was leadership. Meanwhile, I was quietly collecting horror stories like Pokemon cards. People sent me screenshots, voice memos, and grainy bathroom mirror photos of wellness posters Brett had stuck to the warehouse fridges, one of which featured his face photoshopped onto a dolphin, saying, "Swim your own way or don't swim at all." That's when I called Tara. She didn't say much. Just if you're serious, you need groundwork. You can't half-ass a union vote. And I wasn't joking. I'd been calm, strategic, but now, my bones were humming with purpose. Not for revenge, for structure, for justice, for watching Brett's little startup empire drown in the very Kool-Aid he'd made us all pretend to love. Of course, Brett couldn't help himself. I'd asked for a breakdown of the bonus tiering algorithm, innocently, casually, like someone too old to understand spreadsheets with dancing animations. Next thing I know, he's posting in the hash all staff Slack. Hey team, let's all support Linda as she navigates change with grace. We're all learning, even if some of us take longer to unlearn sabotage patterns from a dying capitalist model. Purple heart hash boomer healing 24 reactions. Mostly the newer hires trying to suck up. 1 poop emoji. I smiled and reacted with a peace sign. Then I added it to my folder. The truth? He was rattled. I could smell it through the pastel corporate jargon. Every time he tried to frame me as the outdated relic, it backfired. The warehouse crew adored me. The old-timers trusted me. Even the new hires were starting to see through the neon fog of his transformational journey. Half of them were secretly Venmo requesting back pay from HR, and 1 brave soul had already tried to sell Brett coin for real currency. It bounced. Twice. So I leaned in. Let him think he was winning. I started using Katie's emojis. Replied to Brett with things like "Thanks for the clarity, King." Fire folded and "Love the growth mindset you're modeling." Meanwhile, I was mapping the departments. Tracking the Whisper networks, creating my own spreadsheet not of productivity but of leverage. Who had it? Who'd lost it? Who wanted it back? This wasn't rage anymore. This was war prep. I wasn't coming for his job. I was coming for his throat. Brett called the meeting for 10:03 a.m. because, as the invite said, starting on off times boosts neurocuriosity. He actually wrote that. In Comic Sans. I showed it to Mel from janitorial and he just whispered, "I fought in Desert Storm for this." Everyone filed into the main Zoom like it was a funeral for our dignity. Brett appeared 30 seconds late, glowing under 3 softbox lights and a ring lamp so bright it made his teeth look AI-generated. Behind him, a vision board with words like elevation, crypto-actualization, and dominate the narrative. At the bottom was a post-it that said, "Remember, Linda equals tricky." He greeted us with a "Wish up, fam," then dropped the hammer with a grin. "Exciting update on quarterly bonuses. We're moving toward a performance-steered system, super agile, super vibey. That means more rewards for our top culture contributors and space for others to grow into that alignment. Growth, not guarantees, right? Bonuses will be slightly delayed to accommodate the recalibration process. Stay hyped." Half the Zoom froze, not the tech, the faces. Mark from shipping looked like he bit through his coffee cup. Cheryl in payroll just removed her glasses and started massaging her temples like she was trying to astral project herself out of the company. A part-timer in legal actually said, "Is this legal?" Aloud, to which Brett replied, "Legality is a journey," and then he winked. I gave a tight little clap. "So exciting," I said into the mic. "Love seeing innovation applied to compensation." He beamed. "Linda gets it. Boomer brain, millennial soul." I felt my soul leave through my ears. Then I said, "If we're updating the bonus structure, we'll need to refresh the internal mailing list so all departments get aligned info. I've got the CSV ready to go. Can I get your sign-off?" "Totally," he said, not even looking. "Just send it to my DocuSign. I'll e-sign it during lunch yoga." He clicked without reading, clicked without knowing. Because what I sent wasn't a new HR comms list. It was the updated roster I'd built over the last 6 weeks: floor leads, drivers, back office clerks, night shift crew. Home addresses included. It looked like a logistics update. Sounded like one too, but by 4 p.m., it had been handed off to the overnight service. Certified, labeled, on its way to every floor. Inside the envelopes, official union authorization ballots. The kind that come with Whisper Network's legal protections, and a detonator string tied to every lie Brett had ever slapped on a PowerPoint. By the next morning, my hands were shaking, not from fear but adrenaline. I sipped my coffee like a villain in Act 2, watching the company Slack channel implode over rumors of a bonus hold. Brett posted a selfie with the caption, "Leading through turbulence, Flex Sparkle's transparency is love." Someone replied, "You mean theft?" I didn't. I just closed Slack, opened my email, and sent one message to Tara at the NLRB. Subject line, Phase 2, body there mailed. Let's watch him sweat. The ballots had barely touched mailboxes when the warehouse floor turned electric. Not loud, no chants, no dramatic speeches. Just a shared look, a nod here, a text there. Like a storm building at sea, invisible to anyone tanning on the yacht deck. And Brett? Brett was on the damn yacht, shirtless, holding a digital painting of a unicorn crying into a blockchain and tagging it #empathy is currency on LinkedIn. I spent the next 4 days in motion, slipping through departments like a ghost with a clipboard and a cause. I organized lunches in awkward places, break rooms, storage closets, a converted loading dock someone decorated with string lights and a lava lamp. One-on-ones, whispered huddles, quick chats while waiting for the copier to stop throwing a paper tantrum. I kept it simple. No speeches, just facts. Did you know retaliation for union discussion is illegal? Here's what a card means: it's not a strike, it's a start. You have a right to fair pay, to safety, to sanity. Most nodded, some cried. One guy, Alan from inventory, just quietly handed me a sticky note with "took care of forklifts. They're on board," written on it, like we were planning a heist. Meanwhile, Brett was doing his best impression of a motivational fungus. He posted an essay on Medium titled "Why Traditional Pay is a Trauma Loop" and launched a merch store with hoodies that said "Unlearn Yourself." He uploaded a TikTok of himself dancing in front of a whiteboard that said, "Hardship is a privilege," and somehow thought that was an employee engagement strategy. But then came the email. A misfire, a gift, straight from the inbox of Brett's personal assistant, who clearly had the attention span of a squirrel in a Red Bull vat. Sent to all staff instead of exec team only. Subject, Q1 bonus tiers finalized, do not share body. Hi Brett, confirmed. No changes to exec bonuses. All cuts applied below level 4. You're greenlit to announce after Thursday's vibe check. Also, the NFT invoices are still pending. Should I loop in your dad's CPA or just Venmo you? Silence, then screams, literal screams. From the second floor, someone yelled they got raises, like it was a horror movie jump scare. Slack exploded. Emails got forwarded so fast it felt like a cyber riot. Cheryl from payroll whispered that little bastards toast like she was reading scripture. Brett tried to delete the message, but the internet is faster than him. Screenshots were everywhere. Hell, someone printed it and taped it inside every bathroom stall with the caption, "You're in it now, boss daddy." I didn't say a word. Didn't need to. I was already 3 moves ahead. I'd prepped a follow-up document, Know Your Rights Post Bonus Update Edition, and had it scheduled for drop the next day. I had a call with Tara lined up to discuss press protocol if it went viral. I even had Marcus from shipping working on a burner Reddit account to start floating the story anonymously. This wasn't resistance anymore. This was execution. Brett was dancing for clout while the floorboards creaked under him. He thought we were watching his stupid NFT unicorns. But the truth? We were watching him fall. The first ripple hit around 8:42 a.m. Mel from janitorial texted me a photo of the breakroom bulletin board with a bright white envelope thumbtacked dead center. Bold black print across the top. Confidential union authorization materials enclosed. Someone had scrawled, "Is this real?" Underneath it in red Sharpie. By 9 o'clock, the ripple was a wave. A dozen more texts buzzed in. Photos of ballots spread across time clocks, mail bins, even the vending machine room, where Brett had recently installed a mindfulness aquarium that was just a cracked fish tank with a plastic fern. "Linda, WTF is this? Do we have to sign it? Did you know about this? Is this legal?" I smiled, replied to each one with a helpful shrug emoji, and then forwarded them a PDF labeled, "Your Rights Under Federal Labor Law FAQ Edition." A neat, legally vetted, emotionally neutral document. Just facts. No fire. Facts that burned when read under fluorescent despair. Brett, he was upstairs, blissfully unaware, adjusting his LED lighting rig for his quarterly boss talk. His latest script, sent to Katie for proofreading, was titled We're Not a Company, We're a Constellation. It featured the phrases hyperempathy, sacred capitalism, and bonus karma all in the first paragraph. At 10:12 a.m., the head of fulfillment, Darren, who'd been at Caskwell longer than the carpet, marched straight into Brett's office and shut the door. I didn't see it happen, but I heard it, the muffled shouts, the sound of something getting knocked over, the sharp, satisfying silence that followed. At 10:16 a.m., Brett burst out of the office, hair mussed, jaw twitching. He stood at the top of the mezzanine like a suburban Caesar and bellowed. Effective immediately, Darren is no longer with the company. He chose to misalign with our cultural journey. Someone from shipping yelled, "You just fired a vet with a pacemaker, you dumbass." Brett blinked, confused, then tried to play it off with a half smile. "Let's just keep swimming forward, okay? No need to get lost in yesterday's vibrations." I walked past him with my clipboard and said, "Need me to prep the exit documents?" He didn't answer. Just stared past me, eyes darting like he was suddenly seeing shadows for the first time. Down on the floor, people were clustering, whispering, comparing envelopes. A few were already calling numbers from the FAQ sheet. Someone had pulled up a TikTok explaining union protections over lo-fi beats. Cheryl from payroll stood next to the copier, arms crossed, looking at Brett like she was calculating the exact temperature at which his bones would melt. And then the unmistakable scent of fear hit the air. Not mine, his. By noon, Brett was in a frenzy, pacing, yelling into his phone about optics and narrative steering. He canceled the live stream, said we needed time to reflect as a constellation. Kitty messaged me in full panic. "Do we need a PR spell? Or like an emergency vibe reset?" I told her kindly, maybe take a nap. The thing is, Brett firing Darren was exactly what I'd hoped for. A retaliation event, immediate, documentable. And I'd already sent Tara the timestamp, the Slack logs, and 2 eyewitness statements from maintenance. It wasn't just fuel, it was proof. So yeah, I was tense. But I was also thrilled, because Brett had just walked into the trap, barefoot, carrying gasoline, humming a song about synergy. By dawn the next morning, Darren's story was everywhere. He'd posted it at midnight on a dusty subreddit for logistics workers, just a simple text post titled "Fired After 19 Years" for asking why bonuses got slashed. No hashtags, no flair. Just the truth, typed like a man who'd seen the bottom of too many corporate coffee pots and snapped when a toddler in designer sneakers told him to trust the vibe. It should have fizzled out, but it didn't. By 8 a.m., the post had 12K upvotes. By 9, it hit the front page. Someone screen-capped it and dropped it in a TikTok montage with sad piano music, and the title "When Your CEO is a Clown in Balenciagas." That one. 500,000 views in 4 hours. And Brett? Brett was still asleep. I knew because his Slack status said "Do not disturb, breathwork in progress." The local media called around 10:03 a.m. A polite young reporter from Channel 4 who asked if I had a comment as someone senior in operations. I gave her a quote so neutral it could have been printed on a beige couch. "We value all our team members and are committed to an evolving dialogue rooted in mutual respect." Then I forwarded her voicemail and the interview transcript to Tara and the union reps with a little note. "Looks like we're trending." By noon, Brett had surfaced. Pale, twitchy, wearing sunglasses indoors like a man who thought panic could be filtered out with UV protection. He stumbled into the main office, clutching his phone like it owed him rent, and gasped, "Why is there a meme of me riding a dolphin made of pink slips?" Cheryl from payroll replied without looking up, "Because you're an idiot, Brett." That's when he called it, an emergency all-hands meeting company-wide in 30 minutes. His assistant scrambled to send out invites, but I waved her off and said I'd handle it. "Don't worry," I smiled. "Let me take care of the logistics." She sighed in relief and disappeared to cry behind the kombucha fridge. I opened the invite list, duplicated it, and added 3 new names, all listed as independent compliance contractors, all union observers, all wearing nice shoes and poker faces. When the Zoom started, Brett tried to open with a monologue. "This is not a reckoning, it's a reframing of our cultural narrative, and I ask you all to breathe with me through this pain." But the chat was already flooded. "Where's Darren? You fired a guy with cancer, Brett. You slashed bonuses, but your assistant drives a Tesla. Explain bonus karma again, please. Hey Brett, what union-busting playbook are you using? Just curious." One of the union reps coughed softly into their mic. Brett jumped like someone had fired a gun behind his aura. I sat in the corner of the screen, sipping my coffee, nodding along like I was at a funeral for common sense. He stammered through half of a TED talk about resilience, then fumbled his mouse, shared the wrong screen, and accidentally showed his desktop, complete with a folder labeled Crisis Memes and a draft Word doc titled, "How to Apologize Without Admitting Anything." Someone took a screenshot. The observers watched, silent and still. I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't the storm anymore. This was the undertow. Brett had no idea the current was already dragging him out to sea. Brett went live at 9 o'clock a.m. sharp, like the digital messiah no one ordered. His Zoom background was a neon kaleidoscope of wolves howling at a moon made of Ethereum logos. Across his chest, a t-shirt that read Visionary in Chief in Comic Sans, bedazzled. He opened the stream with synth music, then spoke into a gold microphone shaped like a lightning bolt. Team Casquell. Tribe. Constellation, welcome to a new frontier in compensation. Today I present the Crypto Bonus Pilot trademark, a decentralized gratitude solution powered by you for you. Someone from billing typed in the chat, "What in the fire festival is this?" He didn't notice. No more old school deposits. No more paycheck mined prisons. Instead, we're rolling out Brettcoin 2.0, rebuilt, rebranded, and pegged to emotional value. That's when they started joining. One by one, floor workers, dispatchers, warehouse veterans, IT techs, the shipping lead with a clipboard, the receptionist from hell who once stapled her own resignation letter to Brett's ergonomic chair. Over 60 people entered that Zoom, silent at first, faces hard, eyes locked. Then one held up their envelope, then another, and another, until every tile was filled with union ballots held high like little white middle fingers dipped in righteous fury. Brett blinked. Sentence, his voice pitched up half an octave. Whoa, hey team, this isn't really what this meeting is for, a voice cut in. This is exactly what this meeting's for, chat exploded. You fired a cancer survivor for asking about bonuses. Your bonus is tied to TikTok views, ours got erased. You paid your dog walker more than Janice in logistics. We know the timeline, Brett. And that's when it hit him. Someone had leaked the filing schedule. The date the ballots were certified, the names of the reps involved. Probably the same someone who emailed the shareholders anonymously at 2 a.m. with a PDF attachment titled "Your son is not a leader." Brett's hand started to shake. He reached off screen, probably for his crisis meme folder, but too late. He opened his mouth and his voice cracked. Okay, let's all just breathe and remember that click. A new box joined the Zoom. Legal, black suit, dead eyes, earbud in. They didn't smile. He didn't blink, just hovered behind Brett like a ghost with litigation breath. "Mr. Casquell," they said, "please end the stream." But Brett, bless his dumb NFT heart, tried to vibe through it. No, this is my house, my narrative. We're building a decentralized family. And right then, right at the apex of his spiral, someone muted him. Not an accident, not a glitch. Deliberate. He slapped his desk so hard the camera wobbled. And in that tiny moment of digital chaos, the entire screen froze on his face, contorted mid-scream, pupils wide, mouth open, vision board falling off the wall behind him. I watched it all from my desk, sipping black coffee like it was champagne. Calm, satisfied, I didn't say a word. But I did unmute my mic just long enough to say, per Federal Statute 29 U.S. Code Section 157, we have the right to organize. Consider this our notice. The room erupted, and Brett? He finally went offline. The live stream footage hit Twitter within the hour. Brett mid-meltdown, face frozen in a mix of rage and digital horror, flanked by a glowing Ethereum moon and a falling dominate the narrative post-it. The internet did what it always does, set it to music. Boss Daddy Breakdown trended for 2 days, remixed with everything from sad violin to kazoo jazz. My personal favorite was the slowed-down version spliced with dolphin squeals and the phrase "decentralized family" flashing in Comic Sans. By day's end, 5 shareholders had issued public statements. The Casquell Logistics LinkedIn page was comment-locked, and the company lawyer had officially entered sunglasses indoors mode. Panic wasn't just in the air, it was booked into a corner suite and ordering room service. Then came the vote. The ballots came back with a 92% approval rate. Warehouse, dispatch, admin, even half the IT team. Every floor, every shift. The whole damn machine had turned against him quietly, professionally, legally. And then, like some grimly efficient ghost from Christmas past, his father returned. I heard the jet landed at 6:17 a.m. The old man walked straight into the executive floor, poured himself a bourbon, said nothing, reviewed the union certification results in silence. 15 minutes later, Brett was officially placed on indefinite leave for personal recalibration. Translation, go away before we drown in your Kool-Aid. Katie quit via Canva Graphic, said she was starting a kombucha candle startup in Sedona. HR reappeared like someone had lifted the corporate Ouija board, and the office, slowly but surely, started breathing again. As for me, I got an envelope. Thick paper, no glitter, no vision board. Inside, an early retirement package, full benefits, a very generous consulting retainer to ease the transition. It wasn't hush money, it was respect. Finally, and maybe a touch of fear. Good, I signed it, but not before I made one last stop. Brett's office was still lit. His ring light was glowing, waiting for another performance that would never come. On the floor, his final draft speech, titled The Vibe Rebirth Manifesto, lay in a sad little heap of bullet points and buzzwords. I walked in, heels echoing, past the shrine of bad ideas and peeled the union sticker from my notebook. Bright red, glossy. I stuck it dead center on the gold-plated ring light, watched it glow for a second, then turned, adjusted my coat, and walked out. No fanfare, no applause, just silence, and the knowledge that the empire of nonsense had finally collapsed under the weight of its own smug. We weren't healed. Not yet. But the air felt cleaner, and my heels never sounded sharper. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button, Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes again.